Alright, next I'm going to remove the AC compressor. Every bolt that I take out is being put in bags with a little label in there. I used to write on the bag itself, but after you rifle through them a bunch of times with grubby fingers, all the writing just comes off. So my dad told me about just putting a note inside, and that is just so much better. So it's nice when you go to put it together and everything's all labeled and clean and ready to go. Now I'm going to pull off this thing. I'm pretty sure it's called the oil cooler. Okay, so that thing's out of there. You can see that there's the two holes down there where the oil go through it, and then I guess the coolant cools it down. You can see the cylinders in there, which is kind of neat. Next I will be removing the injector return lines. Fuel comes in through these lines into the injectors. Any surplus then goes out through the injector return line, out and through to the tank. So these little banjo bolts have kind of a just show you here. So they have these little U-shaped sort of washer things to seal up each side of it, and then it's a banjo bolt that has holes in it. You probably can't see that, but it's basically hollow. There you go. So the fuel, this can hold it in while also letting the fuel go through. Very neat. Okay, now I can remove my injector return line. So now I've got this thing all taped up and sealed up. Tough to say how long this is going to be sitting around for, but this way I know that it's fairly sealed and protected. Now I'm going to remove all the injector lines here. This goes from the injection pump over to all the individual injectors. Now I'll disconnect all the lines from the actual injection pump. So I should mention this engine stand that I have this on. I bought this from Princess Auto, which is the Canadian version of Harbor Tools or Harbor Freight, and it's rated for 1,500 pounds. This is a heavy engine. You really need to make sure that you're using equipment that is rated for this, because you know, I think I've heard different numbers, but I think this engine is somewhere between 1,000 and 1,100 pounds. I don't know if a light duty engine stand is only rated for 800 or something like that, so you really got to be careful and make sure that you got the equipment, you know, whether it's the engine hoist, the load leveler, or the engine stand, but you got to make sure that it's all rated for, you know, a heavy engine. And there should be plenty of extra, you know. 1,500 pounds gives me quite a big safety margin. Got this one bracket right here holding the lines down to the intake manifold. Now I can pull the lines. And I'm also going to go ahead and tape all these ends up just to keep nice and clean. Now I'm going to pull off the intake manifold base plate. This is from a Banks twin ram. So as you can see, or as you can maybe see, this is a gasket that I made myself. I had a lot of problems getting this Banks twin ram to seal up. A bunch of problems, actually. If you've watched all my videos, there's one where I had a section about 2 inches long of the stock gasket just blasted right out of there. Now, was that due to me not torquing it down or whatever in the correct sequence? I don't know, but even after I did torque it down in the correct sequence, which is 18 foot-pounds from the center out, I still was getting a leak back in here. So I don't know. I don't think it's a problem with the kit. Maybe the head was a little tweaked or something, or I have no idea, but this was a constant thing that gave me trouble like you would not believe, getting this twin ram sealed up. Again, how much of it was my fault and how much was the kit, I don't know. It seems to be sealed now with these much thicker gaskets that I made myself. That's a 12 valve injector there. Pretty basic. It's located by this ball. It slides down in a little slot, and then you've got this injector hold down nut. It goes over, torques it down, and that's what holds it in there. Okay, these injectors aren't super stuck. I can wiggle them around, but they're a little bit stiff to pull out. So a great little trick is you remove the injector hold down nut, then take a piece of tubing. This is about 1.25 inches outside to outside, and it's 1 inch long. Put that over there, and then you take a stock style lug nut with one of these washers on it, and then you just go in, tighten her down, and it pulls it right up out of there. So there we go, great little trick. That is definitely not an original for me. I got that on YouTube. Unfortunately, I do not have any idea what channel I saw it on, but this is definitely an excellent trick that works very well. All right, now we'll go ahead and pull off the rocker covers. I've already removed the bolts. There's been a lot of modifications in this engine to handle the horsepower levels that it's at. These are Hamilton beehive springs, they call them, 60-pound springs and retainers and stuff. There's also Hamilton push rods, as well as tappets, and then Hamilton cam in here as well. I've also got ARP 2000 head studs, and so that would include these rocker pedestal hold down bolts, as well as all these. If you ever go to these ARP head studs, you have to keep in mind that they are 12 point, I believe. So that is these ones as well as these, so you have to have a special socket for those. Another thing, when you go to reassemble this engine, you have to keep in mind that the valve lash needs to be set on intake and exhaust. I'm pretty sure it's 10 thou intake, 20 thou exhaust, but that's something you really have to keep in mind. Next, I'm going to go through and bust all the head studs loose, as well as the rocker pedestal hold down bolts. I personally am just going to use a breaker bar and do it by hand. I just feel like I want to be safe with something like this. Okay, so I've gone ahead and pulled out all of the head studs. I've also removed all of the rocker pedestal hold down bolts. Next, I'm going to remove a rocker pedestal and just show you what's going on here. So these have like a little standout here that locates them into the head. I had to get these modified. If you're going to run the ARP head studs, see if we can show it, you have to get this notch milled out of here. So I just brought it into an engine machine shop. Wasn't a big deal. I like to keep these with the actual cylinder. I just feel like it's a good habit to put all the stuff from each cylinders in their own particular place, and then you can kind of put it back the way you took it apart. Sometimes stuff like that's very important. Other times I don't know that it is or not, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it. Next, I'm going to pull out all the push rods. Now the head is ready to lift off. I have carried this thing by hand before. You know, I can rotate it around a little bit on the bench, but they're heavy, a lot of really sharp edges and stuff, so I prefer to just use some sort of lifting device and not have to fight it. Now we can have a look at that head gasket and have a look inside the cylinders, and I'll show you the scoring I'm talking about, and then we'll go from there. Well, I've been staring at this for a while, trying to figure out what's going on here. So I think actually what's going on here is these dark parts on here are actually chunks of the this rubberized coating on the head gasket. Okay, as we're looking at this here, all this here looks very roughed up, and that section there then corresponds over to this side. So this is all just head gasket stuff, I think. Overall though, the scoring is a lot less than I was expecting, or a lot less than I remembered. The vast majority of it I actually can't even feel with my fingernail. There is a lot of it though in this one. This is definitely the worst. That one there, I don't even know if I can feel it. Maybe just the tiniest little bit. All right, now this head gasket here definitely did appear to fail. Right there, doesn't look very good. Here, there's a chunk missing. Huge area here that seems buggered up. This is obviously the side that goes against the head. So, what exactly that's from, not too sure. Too much heat maybe, or whatever. I mean, this truck's never been drag raced, or I've never, you know, done any heavy towing or whatever. I mean, I get on the gas here and there, but nothing too crazy that should be out of the ordinary. So, Yeah, I'm not really too sure what's going on there. Also, with the fact that this head gasket has cooked itself onto the block, I'm pretty comfortable saying that all my problems stem from high EGTs, and what a dumb mistake that was, but you know, my mistake, and you guys can learn from it, so there we go. Use an EGT probe. Okay, well, it's a couple days later, and I'm pretty sure I know why I got all that scoring in the cylinder walls. This was a stupid mistake, but a very honest one. Because I have compound turbos and this crazy intercooler and the Banks twin ram and the cam and all these things that are supposed to lower EGTs, I was under the impression that it's not something that I need to worry about until I'm towing or, you know, drag racing or something, you know, extreme, which I haven't done any of that. I mean, I get on the gas a little bit here and there, but you know, a couple seconds, you know, it's nothing too crazy. But, and I've never towed with this or really hauled anything. So, but I'm pretty sure I know what's going on. I actually have never hooked up the EGT probe in this truck, which is stupid. But again, I just didn't think that it was something I needed to be worried about. And as it turns out, it definitely was. That's an expensive lesson. This motor was freshly rebuilt and everything was crisp and new and good to go. And now I'm looking at getting the block board out 20 over. Obviously, having pulled it apart, I got to get a new head gasket now and stuff. There's another $100 or so. And then I'm going to need pistons and rings, oversized ones. Anyways, you know, mistakes happen. It's costly, it was stupid, and the real lesson here for you guys that, you know, you can learn this on my dime is that if you start getting into any performance stuff on one of these things, make sure and get an EGT probe going right away and just keep track of that. It's obviously not just, you know, towing and whatever. Like, it is something that needs to be monitored, and that was a stupid mistake that I made. So anyways, you know, here we are now. We'll deal with it and get through it and onwards and upwards. That is the reason why I had to do it. So anyways, you know, we'll keep on moving on. Thanks for watching. Bye.